Welcome to the Eerie Hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. This is a story about one such place, a forgotten corner tucked away from the world, a silent accusation whispered on the wind. It begins with a clue unearthed from dust and disregard, an echo of a secret history buried deep. As the narrative unfolds, the air thickens, and the known world begins to fray at the edges. Prepare to step through a threshold that exists only in rumor and shadow, where the journey itself is the first descent. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin. But remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The map is less a map and more a stain on brittle paper, tucked inside a collection of local folklore so obscure, even the town librarian raises a curious brow. It shows no roads, no landmarks you recognize, only a meandering line ending in a symbol resembling a keyhole and labeled with a single faded word: nowhere. Local rumor, when pressed and usually dismissed with a nervous laugh, speaks of an old service road, decommissioned decades ago, leading to an exit everyone pretends isn't there. They say the air changes out there, the light shifts, and sometimes things that go out don't come back. You trace the line with a fingertip, a prickle starting at the base of your skull. Curiosity, a relentless current, pulls you towards this rumored anomaly. The drive out is long and grows increasingly desolate. Pavement gives way to cracked asphalt, then to a gravel track choked with weeds. The trees press closer, their branches like skeletal fingers against the bruised sky. The silence here isn't natural. It feels imposed, heavy, as if the world holds its breath. The usual hum of insects, the rustle of leaves, they are absent. Even the wind seems to die as you venture deeper. Sunlight filters through the canopy in unnatural shafts, somehow both too bright and too dim, creating shifting patterns that play tricks on your eyes. The air is still, cool despite the season, carrying a faint, almost metallic scent. A profound isolation settles over you, the apprehension you felt initially sharpening into a definite unease. You reach a place where the gravel track seems to dissolve into overgrown wilderness, but the map fragment insists this is the spot. Hidden beneath a tangle of thorny vines, you find it, a rusted metal barrier, barely visible, marking the physical, forgotten exit. It is less a gate and more a sealed wound in the landscape. On a moss-covered concrete post beside it, something catches the light. A single tarnished brass key rests on the surface, as if left deliberately. Your heart gives a strange, cold lurch. It feels too specific, too coincidental. The silence here is absolute, pressing in on you. The uncanny absence of sound, the first clear supernatural event. You pick up the key, its metal cold against your palm, and a shiver traces down your spine. This key, you realize, is not just an object. It is an invitation, or perhaps a trap. You are already through the first door, even before you found the lock. The tarnished brass key feels heavy, somehow heavier than its small size suggests, a strange weight in your palm that mirrors the growing weight in your chest. The silence doesn't break. It simply deepens as you push through the thorny vines, abandoning the car, abandoning the known path. The barrier, the forgotten exit, leads not to a road, but to a narrow, overgrown trail, barely discernible beneath decaying leaves and tangled undergrowth. The air is still, carrying that same metallic tang, now mixed with the cloying sweetness of rot. This oppressive atmosphere is a physical presence pressing against your skin. As you walk, the path seems to wind unnaturally, twisting back on itself in ways that defy logic. Though your feet continue to move forward, the light filters through the dense canopy above, but it is wrong. Colors seem muted, distorted, the world appearing as if viewed through old, smudged glass. Then you see it, through a break in the trees, a structure. It shouldn't be here. The map showed nothing but nowhere. It's a building, old and crumbling, half swallowed by the encroaching wilderness. It looks like a forgotten railway station, though there are no tracks, no platform, only the decaying shell of brick and timber. The windows are dark, like vacant eyes. A sign hangs precariously above a boarded-up entrance, its painted letters faded into illegibility, save for a single clear symbol that chills you to the bone. A small, stylized keyhole, identical to the one on the map. The sheer impossibility of its existence here, in this silent, unreachable place, feels like the central uncanny event, a disruption of reality that the rational mind struggles to process. A wave of doubt washes over you, cold and sharp, a moment of psychological fracture where the line between curiosity and sheer blind terror begins to blur. You hesitate, your hand tightening around the small brass key. It feels somehow warm now, pulsating faintly in your grasp. The building itself feels like a lock waiting for this specific key. You find yourself moving towards it, drawn by a force that feels both external and internal, a compulsion that overrides the rising panic. The key represents access, yes, but in this place, it feels like complicity. You approach the derelict station, each step crunching on unseen debris, the sound unnaturally loud in the profound silence. The air here is thick, with the smell of damp earth and something else, something subtly unpleasant, like stagnant water left too long in darkness. Moss carpets the bricks, and vines claw at the walls, attempting to reclaim the structure. Above the main entrance, the warped wooden sign clearly bears the carved keyhole symbol. It feels like a deliberate mark, a signpost pointing deeper into this nowhere. You push against the boarded-up door, but it is solid, unyielding. You circle the building, searching for another way in. Around the side, near what might have been a loading dock, you find it. A small, rusted service door, almost hidden by a dense thicket. It looks frail, easily forced, but as you reach for the handle, your hand brushes against the key in your pocket. It's still warm. You pull it out, and inexplicably, you feel a pull towards a small, almost invisible lock mechanism set low into the doorframe, easily missed. It's tiny, intricate, clearly meant for a key of this specific size. This discovery, the confirmation that the found key fits a hidden lock on a hidden door in a hidden building, feels like the escalating uncanny event, proving this wasn't random chance, but a preordained path. As you insert the key, it slides in smoothly, silently. A profound sense of wrongness washes over you, a visceral knowledge that you are doing something you absolutely should not be doing. This is the moment of psychological fracture, the step taken across an invisible threshold from which there is no easy return. The old, tarnished brass key turns with a soft click, and the door creaks open inwards, revealing only darkness and the scent of cold, stale air. The key, once a symbol of discovery, now feels like a binding contract, locking you into this place, not just opening it. Stepping through the doorway, you wonder if the outside world still exists, or if it simply ceases to be once you are inside. Stepping through the small service door, you are swallowed by an immediate, absolute darkness. The stale air tastes of dust and damp stone, a vivid atmospheric detail that coats your tongue. The key slips from your fingers as you stumble forward, landing somewhere with a soft thud that the silence seems to absorb instantly. You can hear nothing but your own ragged breath, feel nothing but the clammy chill of the air against your skin. You reach out, hands finding cold, rough brick walls. This is not the interior of a small station. It feels vast, subterranean, like a forgotten tunnel network or a buried chamber. Disorientation is immediate and overwhelming, a physical symptom of the unseen, uncanny event unfolding around you. The structure's internal space defying its external appearance. The key, now lost in the darkness, represents not just a physical object, but the loss of your only obvious exit, a moment of terrifying finality that triggers a severe psychological fracture. Panic flares hot and fast, a frantic instinct to turn back, but the darkness presses in, heavy and suffocating, making forward movement the only perceived option. You stumble deeper, hands outstretched, searching for a wall, a guide. As you move, the darkness is absolute. But then, faintly, you hear it. A low, rhythmic dripping sound echoing from somewhere ahead. Drip, drip, drip. It's the only sound in this impossible silence, and it draws you forward with an unsettling certainty. The air grows colder, carrying a new scent, faint but distinct, the coppery tang of old blood. You keep walking, the dripping sound, a maddening, solitary beat in the void. The absence of the key, the inability to find it no matter how you search the floor with your feet, becomes a silent torment, a constant reminder of the door now closed behind you. You are somewhere that should not be, somewhere the map called nowhere, and the key was your only passage to it, implying perhaps there is no passage from it. Do you truly exist in this darkness, or are you merely a thought, echoing in its depths? The rhythmic drip, drip, drip continues, leading you through the absolute darkness. The coppery scent strengthens, thick and metallic in the cold air. The darkness itself feels alive, a sentient presence pressing against your skin, stealing your breath. Then, just ahead, a faint light appears, a pale, flickering source that seems to pulse in time with the dripping. It's a single bare bulb, hanging precariously from a frayed wire above a narrow, damp corridor that stretches ahead. The light is weak, casting long, distorted shadows that writhe on the wet stone walls. On the floor beneath the bulb, gathered in a small, unsettling pile, are keys, dozens of them. Old keys, new keys, intricate skeleton keys, simple flat keys, a chaotic jumble of metal. This pile of keys, appearing out of nowhere in this lightless place, is the central uncanny event, a silent testament to how many entrances have been opened, how many thresholds crossed in this impossible space. As you step into the weak light, your foot splashes in a shallow puddle that reflects the flickering bulb, creating a distorted image of your own face. The water is cold, and it carries the strong coppery scent. You look at the pile of keys, and a profound wariness washes over you, a deep-seated despair that goes beyond simple fear. It's the psychological fracture point, the crushing realization that your small brass key was not unique, that this place is not a secret waiting for one finder, but perhaps a collection point, a final destination for those who follow the forgotten paths. You pick up one of the keys from the pile. It is small, made of bone, impossibly light, and drop it back, repulsed. The pile seems to shift slightly, settling back into its disturbing mass. The keys here are not tools of access. They are symbols of arrival, of being locked in. Is every key a promise of entry, or just another step deeper into the lock? You move past the unsettling pile of keys, following the narrow corridor, illuminated by the single, flickering bulb. The rhythmic drip, drip, drip still echoes, seemingly guiding you deeper. The air grows colder still, carrying a new, faint scent, something like old paper and dust, mixed with a hint of something sickly sweet. The stone walls of the corridor are slick with condensation, and your footsteps echo softly, the sound swallowed quickly by the persistent silence beyond the dripping. The flickering light distorts everything, making the shadows dance, and the corridor seem to shift and waver. This unsettling dance of light and shadow, coupled with the shifting spatial perception, is the uncanny event, a subtle warping of reality that goes unnoticed until it has already happened. Ahead, the corridor opens into a larger space. The dripping sound ceases abruptly as you enter, replaced by a heavy, expectant silence. The flickering light from the corridor barely reaches here, leaving most of the chamber in deep shadow. But in the center, dimly illuminated, is a single, heavy wooden door set into the far wall. It is massive, ancient, bound with thick, rusted iron straps. There is no handle, but in the center, at chest height, is a large, elaborate keyhole, intricate and dark. As you stare at it, a profound sense of recognition surfaces, cold and sharp. A moment of psychological fracture. This door, this keyhole, you feel as though you have always been walking towards it. There are no keys scattered here, only the one on the floor back in the dark, and the discarded pile further back. This keyhole is different. It feels absolute. The absence of a matching key, after seeing so many discarded ones, implies either this door is the final lock with no key, or perhaps the key is not a physical object at all, but something else, something you've already given up or left behind. The vast keyhole seems to watch you, a silent question in the gloom. What waits behind the final door, and does it even need a key to open? After the encounter with the final, massive door and its silent keyhole, a quiet descends, deeper than the absence of sound. It is the quiet of finality, or perhaps of waiting. The flickering bulb in the corridor behind you seems to dim further, its feeble light struggling to reach the chamber. The massive door looms in the near darkness, its presence undiminished by the lack of illumination. There is nothing more to do here, no handle to turn, no key to fit. The air is still, cold, carrying the faint, lingering scent of old paper and something unidentifiable, something patient. You find yourself retracing your steps, not with frantic haste, but with a slow, deliberate movement, as if sleepwalking. The corridor seems longer on the way back, the shadows deeper. You pass the spot where the pile of keys lay, but you do not look directly at it. You sense it there, a dark mass in the periphery, a quiet accusation of all the paths taken. All the thresholds crossed. The key, lost in the darkness after you first entered, remains unfound. It feels insignificant now, one among many, just another discarded possibility in a place that collects them. The cold metal against your palm at the start feels like a distant memory, a false promise of control. You find the small service door again, surprisingly easily in the gloom. It is closed, naturally, but there is no lock visible from this side, no handle. It is simply a door in a wall, a perfect, seamless barrier. Pushing against it yields nothing. It is closed. And it feels as though it was never open to begin with. The knowledge settles in your bones, heavy and absolute. You are inside. The psychological residue of this place clings to you like the damp chill, a persistent feeling of being misplaced, of belonging now to the nowhere that surrounds you. The unanswered questions hang in the air like dust motes in the faint light. What was this place? Who built it? What purpose did the keys serve? And who, or what, waited behind the final door? The recurring motif of the keys culminates here, not with a final lock opening, but with the realization that all the keys, the found one, the lost one, the pile, the keyhole itself, were perhaps just steps in a process, parts of a ritual of entry into a place that does not easily release its inhabitants. The path was less an exploration and more a deliberate drawing in, a descent into a system of locks designed not to protect what is inside, but to ensure what is outside stays out and what comes in cannot leave. The silence outside the service door is complete, final. There is no sound from the world you left behind. There is only the quiet of being here, now, in the nowhere. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet. And then you are through. It isn't a step so much as a disassembling, a dissolution of the air around you, and a sudden, uncomfortable re-knitting of sensation. The bricked-up archway, found behind peeling wallpaper in a forgotten corridor, doesn't just open, it swallows, leaving no sensation of passing through space, only of being on the other side. The transition is less like walking through a door, and more like waking from a dream into a place that shouldn't exist, carrying the phantom weight of sleep. The air on this side is wrong. It presses in, thick and heavy, like damp felt. Yet it carries no scent, no whisper of movement. It simply is, unmoving and silent, pushing against your skin with an invisible pressure that makes breathing feel like an effort against resistance. The light is perhaps the most immediate violation. It glows with an impossible, even intensity, emanating from no discernible source. It doesn't cast shadows. It seems to absorb them, leaving corners softly undefined and surfaces strangely flat. Everything is illuminated, yet obscured, seen clearly, but understood dimly. Your eyes try to adjust, searching for the logic of illumination, but there is none. The light simply is, a pervasive, jaundiced hum against the back of the skull. A subtle sound, not heard but felt, resonates deep within the bones, a low, rhythmic thrum, like distant, impossible machinery working the fabric of reality itself. This new space feels immense, a vast, empty chamber, but the angles of the walls are subtly, unnervingly off. They don't meet at 90 degrees. They converge at impossible points in the distance, curving gently where straight lines should be. The floor slopes almost imperceptibly, yet you feel drawn towards the center, as if gravity has shifted its allegiance. You walk a few paces, and the wall you just passed seems further away than it should be, warped by an unseen force. The geometry is a lie the mind struggles to process, a quiet distortion that pulls at the edges of sanity. It's here, amidst the impossible angles, that you see them, not physical mirrors, but patches of wall that reflect the space back at you, not as it is, but as it might be, or perhaps as it was. Distorted, elongated versions of the chamber shimmer within these patches, hinting at dimensions folded within dimensions. The reflections feel less like glass and more like thin ice over deep water. A tremor of genuine fear runs through you, cold and sharp. This isn't just an old building. It's a place outside of logic, a space that rejects understanding. Confusion spirals into a profound disorientation, a feeling of being utterly lost, not just in location, but in your own senses. Your thoughts feel sluggish, coated in the heavy air. Did you actually walk through an archway? Or did you merely think you did? Is this a dream? The feeling of psychological fracture is potent, a sliver of your certainty breaking away, lost in the impossible light. You feel a chilling detachment, as if your physical self is a puppet controlled by senses that are being systematically dismantled. You turn back, searching for the bricked-up archway, the passage you just used. It is gone. The wall behind you is seamless, unbroken. It's as if it was never there. Or perhaps you didn't come in from that direction at all. Panic, cold and clean, attempts to surge, but the heavy air seems to smother it, leaving only a dull ache of despair. It's then, in a section of the wall that reflects a particularly warped vision of the chamber, that you see the faint scratch marks. They are deep, haphazard, unlike accidental damage. And below them, scrawled faintly in something dark that could be dried mud or something worse, are a few letters, half erased by time or the strange air. Lost, wait, signs that others were here before, their struggles etched into the impossible architecture. Was this place waiting specifically for you? The question hangs in the silent, thick air, heavy as the pressure on your skin. The reflection shimmers, showing a passage that isn't there, a door you cannot reach. You are here now, and the way back is gone. The walls here are no longer walls. They curve in on themselves like petrified waves, or slant at angles that defy gravity, holding the ceiling at impossible junctures. It's a world built by hands that didn't understand geometry, or perhaps understood it in a way that frightens the waking mind. Passages twist unexpectedly, and steps ascend only to meet solid rock or a sheer drop where another passage should have been. You move deeper into the impossible structure, your hand often reaching out to steady yourself against surfaces that feel both ancient and unnervingly smooth. Unlike stone, the air thickens here, carrying a scent that is metallic and damp, like old copper left in the rain. And the silence, usually absolute, is now punctuated by unsettling sounds. A faint, rhythmic scrape echoes from somewhere ahead, not loud, but persistent, like something being dragged slowly across stone. You pause, listening, but it stops the moment you focus. When you move again, the soft scrape returns, always seeming to trail just behind you, or just around the next impossible bend. It's more than sounds now. Objects that lay inert moments ago are subtly shifted when your gaze sweeps back. A loose stone by your foot rolls slightly up the incline of its own accord. A cluster of dust on a high ledge seems to rearrange itself into a crude, unfamiliar symbol when you glance away and then back. You catch glimpses of movement in your periphery, quick, darting blurs that vanish the instant you try to fix them with your eyes. But the most unsettling occurs near a dark pool reflecting the cavern's ceiling. You see your own reflection, pale and wide-eyed. But behind it, looming in the distorted reflection, is a figure that is not there in reality. Tall, indistinct, merely an outline in the mirrored water, it watches you with impossible stillness. You recoil, the water rippling, and the shape is gone, leaving only your own terrified face staring back. A deep chill settles in your chest, colder than the air, a prickling sensation across your skin that tells you, with absolute certainty, that you are not alone. You feel eyes on you, not just from the pool, but from every angle, every shadow, every twist of the impossible walls. Paranoia blooms like a dark flower in your mind, its petals unfurling with dizzying speed. Did that stone really move? Was the dust rearranged, or did your eyes deceive you? The whispers begin then, faint, indistinct, brushing against your ears like moth wings. They seem to carry fragments of language you almost understand, laced with an undercurrent of something hungry. Your escape route is a constant, pressing thought, yet every turn reveals more dead ends, more pathways that loop back on themselves, more doors set inexplicably into the rock or twisted walls that lead only to solid rock or impenetrable darkness. They are doors to nowhere, or perhaps doors to somewhere you were never meant to find. Each one is different. One is a simple archway framing blackness. Another, a heavy stone slab with a rusted handle. Another just a fissure in the wall, shaped like a perfect rectangle. They are mocking reminders of the forgotten exits. The soft, rhythmic scrape continues, sometimes closer, sometimes further, a constant companion in the suffocating quiet. It feels deliberate now, a signal, or perhaps a following step. You hug the bizarre walls, your breathing shallow, questioning if the terror is real, or if the place is simply eroding your mind, stone by slow stone. The air is thick, the whispers close, and the feeling of being watched is a physical weight pressing down on you. What truly exists here, and what is merely reflected in the dark pool of your fear? The air thickens, no longer just heavy with dust and silence, but with something else. A presence that presses against the very edges of your skin. It feels ancient, colder than any draft, a chill that sinks into bone and marrow. The scent follows, faint at first, then undeniable. Damp earth mixed with something metallic and sour, like old blood and decay. It isn't just in the air, it feels of the air, as if the very atmosphere is exhaling something foul and patient. You take a step back toward the hallway you used moments ago, the one with the splintered floorboards and the persistent drip from an unseen leak. Only it isn't there. Where the opening should be, a wall stands, perfectly intact, covered in the same peeling floral wallpaper as the rest of this impossible corridor. A smooth, unbroken surface where an exit just was. Panic flickers, sharp, and cold, but something heavier slams down on it, a crushing weight in your chest, a sudden, profound hopelessness that steals the air from your lungs. The world seems to dim, colors draining away, leaving a canvas of gray despair. You stare at the wall, knowing the hallway was there, yet seeing only solid plaster and paper. A faint whisper brushes your ear, colder than the room, a sound like dried leaves skittering across stone. Gone, not yours anymore. Another door appears further down the new wall, where before there was only blank space. It's smaller than the others, made of dark, unvarnished wood, utterly plain. Yet it draws the eye with an almost magnetic pull. It has no handle, no knob, just a single deep vertical scratch running down its center, like the mark of a monstrous claw. You feel a distinct pressure on the back of your neck, like someone is breathing, slow and measured, directly onto your skin. You spin around, but nothing is there. Just the empty corridor, the vanishing hallway, the new claw-marked door, and the suffocating despair that feels like it's being poured directly into your soul. Your thoughts scramble, trying to reconcile the vanished path with the solid wall, the known layout with this impossible shift. Did you imagine the hallway? Was it never there? The memory of walking through it moments ago is vivid. The creak of the boards, the rhythmic drip. But the wall is so real. A moment of sharp delusion pierces through the hopelessness. Perhaps you haven't moved at all? Perhaps you are standing exactly where you were before, and everything else is just shifting around you. This place isn't just a house. It is a skin being shed, revealing different bones underneath. And you are caught inside the folds as it remakes itself. The clawed door seems to pulse faintly in the dim light, an offering or a threat, blurring at the edges like something not quite settled in reality. Perhaps the true door is the one you cannot see. You turn back, seeking the path that led you here, but the air around you thickens with a silent refusal. It is not just distance that is lost, but direction itself. The familiar corridor twists unexpectedly. A corner you remember turning right on now leads only to a solid, unyielding wall where a doorway should have been. Panic, a cold knot in the gut, begins to loosen, not into action, but into a horrifying stillness. You walk again, retracing steps that feel both utterly wrong and disturbingly familiar. The same faded wallpaper patterns repeat with sickening frequency. An ornate mirror you passed minutes ago hangs on a different wall now, its surface cloudy, perhaps reflecting a room you haven't seen yet, or one that no longer exists. When you try the door beside it, expecting the grand staircase, it opens instead into a small, dark closet filled with the palpable scent of dust and something else, something damp and metallic, like old coins left in the rain. This is not merely getting lost. It is being held. The place learns your movements, anticipates your logic, and subtly, malevolently, counters it. You see a window you are sure should offer a view outside, but pressing your face to the glass shows only another identical wall, impossibly close. The floorboards beneath your feet seem to shift, a subtle tremble, and when you look up, the ceiling appears lower, pressing down like a heavy lid. Doubt begins to gnaw. Is this real? Did you ever arrive? Or has this disorienting loop always been your existence? The memory of an outside world, a cruel, fading dream. You find yourself standing before a door you know you just came through. Certain you did, but it is now painted a different color, a stark, unnerving blue, and when you reach for the knob, your hand passes through empty air. The door is just a painting on the wall, a cruel trick played on the eyes or on the mind. The concept of an exit, once a simple directional goal, becomes a phantom. Where the original way out should be, there is only an alcove, empty save for a single, intricately carved wooden doll, standing facing the wall. Its stillness feels weighted, significant. It wasn't there before. How could you remember something so clearly if it never was? Or are you simply forgetting what is? Perhaps the exit was never meant to be a way out, but merely the beginning of the way in. Your own name feels distant, a word that belongs to someone else, someone who existed before the paths began to lie. Welcome to the eerie hour. Some places don't just haunt you, they wait. Deep within the old woods, where the trees press close and the light seems to forget how to fall, sits such a place. It's a house the maps conveniently miss, built on ground that remembers things polite history tries to forget. They say people go in, drawn by the silence or a misplaced curiosity, and rarely come out the same. Sometimes they don't come out at all. This place holds secrets not meant for the light. Secrets about exits that were never meant to be found. Or perhaps, exits that only lead deeper in. Listen closely. Feel the chill creep up your spine, and let the quiet pull you in. If you enjoy descending into the strange and the forgotten, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share your theories below. Now, let's begin, but remember, once the story starts, something always follows. The air inside the house is thick with the scent of damp earth and forgotten dust, a cloying sweetness underlying the must. It clings to your clothes, settles on your tongue. You step through the threshold, the wood groaning a protest behind you, a sound that feels final. Ahead, the hallway stretches into gloom, the only light filtering through grimy windows painted over by time. It's colder in here than the forest outside, a biting chill that has nothing to do with the temperature. A shiver starts low in your back and travels up your neck, not from cold, but from a growing sense of profound wrongness. This place doesn't just feel abandoned, it feels left. You move deeper, each step echoing unnervingly in the silence. The house seems larger on the inside than it appeared from the overgrown track that led you here. Rooms branch off, some swallowed entirely by shadow, others revealing glimpses of decaying furniture draped in dust sheets like shrouds. There's a rhythm to the silence, punctuated only by the creak of old timbers settling, and, if you strain your ears, a faint, persistent dripping sound from somewhere unseen. It's like the house itself is weeping. Passing a hallway, you see a door. It's plain, unpainted wood, set flush against the wall, utterly unremarkable save for one thing. There is no corresponding door on the outside wall, no room here that would make sense of its existence. It sits there, a clean break in the otherwise decrepit plaster, smooth and solid where everything else is crumbling. A sudden, overwhelming urge grips you, an irrational, frantic desire to open it, to see what impossible space lies behind the forgotten exit. But another feeling fights it, a deep-seated dread that whispers, "This is the first mistake." You stand frozen, staring at the door, and for a moment, You are certain you see the wood grain shift, just slightly, like something pressing from the other side. This house isn't just a structure. It feels like a trap built from forgotten spaces. The air around the door feels different, heavier, charged with a static energy that makes the fine hairs on your arms stand on end. You didn't come looking for this, not specifically, but now that you've seen it, the need to understand is a physical ache. What is this door? Where does it lead? More importantly, why does the idea of finding an exit here fill you with such dread? You turn away, forcing your feet to move, but the image of the door is burned into your vision. It feels like the house watched you discover its secret, and now it knows you know. The thought settles in your mind, cold and sharp. You haven't just found a forgotten exit. You've found something that was forgotten for a reason. The dripping sound seems to grow louder, keeping pace with your quickening heartbeat. The forgotten door pulls at your thoughts like a tide. Every other room you explore, every shadowed corner you peer into, feels insignificant compared to that solid, impossible rectangle of wood. The dripping sound follows you, sometimes seeming closer, sometimes further away, never quite identifiable. It's a maddening, irregular rhythm in the oppressive quiet. You try to shake off the obsession, to focus on the rest of the house, but your steps invariably lead you back down that hallway. You stand before the door again. It looks the same, plain wood, no handle, no lock, just the faint outline of a doorframe pressed into the wall. But today, the air around it doesn't just feel heavy, it feels cold. Not the biting chill of the house's damp interior, but a deep, unnatural cold that seems to emanate directly from the wood itself. You reach out a hesitant hand, the skin prickling as you get closer. Your fingers hover an inch from the surface. You feel a faint vibration, like something humming beneath the wood. And then you hear it, a soft, distinct scratching coming from behind the door. It's not the frantic scrabbling of an animal saying. It's a slow, deliberate scrape, rhythmic and unnerving, like nails dragging lightly across wood. Scratch, pause, scratch, pause. It stops as abruptly as it started. You snatch your hand back, heart hammering against your ribs. What could be behind there? There's no space for a room of this size on the house's exterior, not where this door is positioned. The scratching suggests something alive, or at least something capable of movement. A knot of fear tightens in your stomach. You find yourself checking over your shoulder more and more frequently, convinced that the house isn't empty, that something saw you reach for the door. Your mind races, trying to construct a logical explanation. Settling of the house, rodents, wind, but none of it fits the deliberate nature of the sound, or the way the air around the door seems to thrum with latent energy. This isn't just an architectural anomaly. It feels like an entrance to somewhere that shouldn't exist. The idea takes root, a cold, creeping vine. The house isn't just built on a forgotten place. It is the forgotten place, manifesting through these strange, inaccessible doors. You trace the outline of the doorframe with your eyes, and for a fleeting second, you think you see a faint, almost invisible seam where the wood meets the wall. A line that wasn't there before, a suggestion of movement, of something shifting just out of sight. The scraping sound doesn't return, but the silence that follows feels heavier than before, pregnant with unseen presence. Is it waiting for you to try the door again? Sleep offers no escape. It brings only fractured images of endless hallways and doors that open into darkness or empty, echoing rooms identical to the last. You wake feeling more exhausted than when you slept. The scratching sound from behind the door echoing in your memory like a persistent tinnitus. The boundaries of the house seem to shift subtly throughout the day. A staircase might appear in a hallway where there wasn't one before, leading down into a darkness too profound for any cellar. Rooms you thought you'd explored are suddenly different, rearranged, or contain furniture you don't remember seeing. It's a disorienting, insidious change that warps your sense of space and time. You return to the hall with the strange door, compelled by a force that feels stronger than your own will. The door is still there, still plain and solid. But today, the cold radiating from it is intense, enough to make your breath mist in the air. You can see it, a faint, white cloud hanging just inches from the wood. You shiver violently, wrapping your arms around yourself. The dripping sound is now coming from inside the wall next to the door, closer than ever. A slow, viscous plink that suggests something thick and dark is falling, drop by drop. As you watch the door, a chilling realization washes over you. You can't remember how long you've been in the house. Was it days? Weeks? The passage of time has become fluid, meaningless. Key events from arriving here are hazy, obscured by a growing fog in your mind. This lapse in memory, this sudden inability to piece together your own recent past, is a profound psychological fracture. It feels like a part of you has been left behind, or perhaps absorbed by the house itself. You press your ear against the door. The scratching is gone, replaced by the profound, radiating cold. But if you listen closely, holding your breath against the oppressive silence, you think you can hear something else from the other side. It's faint, indistinct, like distant whispers carried on a non-existent wind. The voices are too low to make out words, but the sound is undeniably present, a low murmur just beneath the threshold of hearing. It feels like the forgotten exit isn't just a door, it's a filter, allowing only certain things to pass through. Are the voices trying to get out, or are they inviting you in? The house seems to breathe around you, a slow, heavy inhale and exhale that matches the pounding of your heart. You feel a profound sense of being lost, not just in space, but in time itself. Who are you and how did you get here? The whispers behind the door are no longer just faint murmurs. They are louder now, though still indistinct, a sibilant tide that rises and falls with an unnatural rhythm. It's like sand being poured over glass. You spend hours sitting in the hallway, simply listening, trying to decipher the sounds, trying to understand what forbidden conversation is taking place on the other side of the forgotten exit. The house seems quieter in other ways, as if all the ambient noise has been drawn towards this one spot. The dripping has stopped entirely, leaving behind an eerie, resonant silence that amplifies the whispers. Your fixation on the door has become an obsession. You trace the outline with your fingers, feeling the unnaturally smooth wood, the almost imperceptible seam where it meets the wall. You find yourself talking to it, muttering questions under your breath, convinced that the whispers are a response, a form of communication you are just on the verge of understanding. This need to connect with the anomaly, to break through the barrier, is a dangerous psychological spiral. pulling you further away from reality with every passing hour. You know you should leave, should find the way back out the front door you entered through, but the thought feels distant, irrelevant. Your only purpose now is the door. As you press your ear closer, ignoring the intense cold that now feels less like temperature and more like a draining presence, the whispers seem to coalesce. They are still not words, not exactly, but they form patterns, rising and falling in pitch, creating a disorienting, almost hypnotic effect. And within the pattern, you begin to discern something else. A faint, rhythmic sound that is sickeningly familiar. It is the sound of breathing. Slow, deep, unnatural, not human. It seems to fill the space behind the door, vast and unseen. A chilling thought pierces through the haze of your obsession. The forgotten exit isn't just a door in the house. It's a door to the house, or rather, to the true nature of the house, a place that exists outside normal space. And whatever is breathing behind the door is inextricably linked to this place. You feel a prickle of pure instinctual terror, but it is swiftly overridden by the relentless pull of curiosity. The whispering breathing seems to be calling your name, not in sound, but in feeling, a pressure against your mind. It feels like a part of you already resides behind that door, and it's time for the rest of you to join it. Is the door an exit from reality, or an entrance to what was truly forgotten? The seam in the wood seems to glow faintly, a thin line of unnatural light in the dim hallway. The glow along the seam of the forgotten door is more pronounced now, a thin line of phosphorescent light that pulses with the rhythm of the unseen breathing. The whispers have subsided, replaced by a profound, expectant silence. The air in the hallway is no longer just cold. It feels thin, difficult to breathe, like being at a great altitude. A metallic taste fills your mouth, the taste of old copper and dust. You feel cobwebs brush against your skin, though there are none visible. Your senses are heightened, distorted, unreliable. You know, with a certainty that transcends logic, that the door is ready. It's waiting for you. The intense obsession has consumed you entirely. The fear is still present, a cold knot in your gut, but it is muted, secondary to the overwhelming compulsion to open this forgotten exit. You no longer question where it leads or what the breathing entity on the other side might be. All that matters is crossing the threshold. You feel a profound sense of disorientation, a blurring of your identity. Are you doing this because you want to, or because the house or the entity behind the door wants you to? The line between your will and its influence has dissolved. You reach out, your hand trembling, not from fear, but from a strange anticipation. Your fingers touch the cool, smooth wood. The seam beneath your touch feels yielding, almost soft. It feels like the door isn't a solid object, but a membrane. The breathing on the other side deepens, a vast, resonant inhale that seems to draw the air from your own lungs. You press gently against the seam, and it gives way, a silent parting, like pulling back a heavy curtain. Darkness spills out, not the absence of light, but a tangible, consuming void that seems to drink the illumination from the hallway. It smells of nothing, yet feels full of something ancient and vast. You cannot see anything within, but you can feel the presence, the source of the breathing, a formless, immense entity that occupies the space beyond the door. It is not hostile, not explicitly, but its sheer existence is terrifying. Alien. This is the forgotten place, accessed through a forgotten exit. You step through the seam, the air around you snapping shut behind you like a physical lock. You are no longer in the house. You are no longer anywhere you can name. The last sensation before the void swallows you is the subtle shift of space, rearranging itself around you, like the house folding in on itself, the forgotten exit closing, perhaps forever. Was this escape, or simply a different kind of captivity? The light is too bright. The sounds are too sharp. The air smells wrong, clean and thin, devoid of the damp earth and dust and that cloying sweetness you had grown accustomed to. You are outside. You made it out. But outside feels alien, a poorly rendered copy of the world you knew. People walk by, their faces indistinct blurs, their chatter a meaningless din. The ground beneath your feet feels unstable, like walking on water. You escaped the forgotten place, or perhaps it simply finished with you. The horror didn't stay behind. It is a cold, heavy weight lodged in your chest, a constant hum beneath your skin. The lingering echo of the forgotten place manifests in subtle, insidious ways. Every shadow seems deeper than it should be. Every quiet moment is filled with the ghost of scratching or sibilant whispers just at the edge of hearing. The dripping sound returns in the dead of night, seeming to come from the walls of your own home. Sleep is a battleground of fractured nightmares, endless hallways, impossible doors, the vast, unseen breathing from the void. You find yourself staring at walls, seeing faint, impossible seams where doors might be. Forgotten exits hidden just out of sight. Alleyways look like they could lead to the impossible darkness you stepped into. Empty buildings seem to watch you with too many windows. The concept of a forgotten exit is no longer just a story. It is branded onto your consciousness, a filter through which you perceive the world. You are physically present, but your mind is irrevocably altered, caught between this jarringly normal reality and the impossible space you briefly inhabited. Key events from the ordeal are lost in a fog, fragmented, or twisted into terrifying non sequiturs. You remember the house, the doors, the cold, the breathing, but the sequence, the reason, the duration, it's all a jumbled mess. The true horror wasn't being trapped, it was realizing that escape wasn't a return to safety, but a transition to a different kind of haunting. You carry a piece of the forgotten place within you, a shard of its impossible geometry lodged in your psyche. The doors you see everywhere are a cruel mockery, a reminder that there is no true exit, only different points of ingress into the strange. The silence here is punctuated by the phantom sounds of the house, a constant, maddening reminder. It is over, for now. But the feeling persists, the unsettling knowledge that the forgotten place is still there, still waiting, and perhaps the forgotten exit you found wasn't the only one. And if you hear it again tonight, don't answer. Not yet.